everyone. Welcome to the end of the semester. Yay. Hopefully this is my last video for the semester, and if not, I'll let you know if there's others to watch. But we are going to talk about wrapping up your semester and the final exam and what's going on. So hopefully at this point in time, I have all your grades entered in the grade book. So if you have not done so yet, then you'll need to go into grades and look at that and see what everything looks like. So all your daily work, all your projects should have grades in there, and your exams from this semester. So the only things that should not have grades on them, if I have completed my job at this point, is there should be the quiz for the final exam, and there should be the final exam. Everything else should have a grade on it. So if you look at this grade, your calculated final average, I think is what it calls it in the software, then basically everything should be a number out of 75. So you should have a percentage grade out of 75. So not counting the final exam, you have 75% of your grade. This quiz is a daily grade, but it'll be easy for you to, it's an easy 100. So it should only improve your average. It should not count against your average unless you don't take it. So all your grades should be entered in the grade book. So what you need to do is go look, see if you like your grade or not, if you are happy with your grade, or even if you're not thrilled with the fact that you've got a B or a C in the class, but you realize that there's no way for you to raise your grade. For instance, if you did fairly well on exams 1 and 2 and you still have a 73 average going into the final exam, then we can play with the numbers if you need to, but most likely you would have to make like 100 or so on the final exam and replace a low test grade in order to bring that up, so to a B. Now, if you're sitting at a 79%, then the final exam could probably help you, or perhaps, and here's why I want you to go look, check for zeros, especially zeros in the last week or two, the last couple of weeks of the semester. If, for instance, you didn't do your reflection assignment, that's a project grade, and projects are about 2% of your grade, so that's worth about 2 points on your average. So if you have zeros in the last couple of weeks, then let me know if you'd like me to reopen a folder, and I can do that. What I'm not willing to do is I'm not willing to go back to August and reopen the very first homework assignment if you didn't get that turned in, because I'm not going to go back and regrade all that kind of stuff. But if it's in the last few weeks and you're like, oh, I had this, I just didn't upload it, or oh, I didn't realize we had an extra quiz on whatever, I can take that quiz real quick and get a good grade on it and get rid of that zero. So do that kind of stuff. Let me know if there's stuff that you would like for me to open for you. Go look at your grade and decide whether or not you want to take the final exam. If you need a little bit of help, like if you need me to figure out, okay, this is your calculated average out of 75, what would it be if you put in 100? I can do some of those calculations in the software for you in D2L and let you know, okay, if you made 100 on the final exam, your average would be a blah. If getting 100 on the final exam doesn't change your average to a higher grade level, then really you probably should just say, okay, I'm happy with my B, or I'm happy with my C, and move on, study for another exam, or have the end of the semester be upon you. But if you're, like I said, sitting at a 79 and making a 90 on the final exam would change your average, then that's worth thinking about, oh, maybe I need to take it. Okay, so number 3, take the quiz. First of all, it'll give you an easy 100 on a quiz. Yay. Okay. And second of all, this is your participation grade for the review week. Okay. You need to do this. Do not not do this. Even people who are like, I'm not taking the final exam, or oh, I'm taking the final exam, you need to do this. So it asks you a few things. What's your current grade in the class, so that we're all clear that you know what you're making. And it asks you, yes, or I think it says, no, I'm not going to take the final exam, I'm happy with my grade. Or it says, yes, I'm going to take the final exam. And then there's some options in there. So I actually will be here during finals week, and I will be giving the exams face-to-face, so you are welcome to come in and take the finals with me during the time. So look at your syllabus, or I think I may have even put it in D2L under content for final exam time. But I will be here, so you can take it face-to-face with me. If not, then we'll talk about the entire process for how you will do an online exam for us, and that I'm going to cover it right now, so just give me a second. But I want to talk about a couple of other things. So if you're not going to take the final exam, you take this quiz, and then you go on about your business, and I will record whatever your average is at that time. Okay, so no worries, just move on. If you are going to take the final exam, then hopefully you're watching this video, and also I will have a Zoom meeting in your next class period at our normal class time. And I will send out links to everybody, people who are taking the final exam. This will be your opportunity to ask me content questions. So if there's a particular problem that you want to look at, if you are not certain what happened on such and such question on the exam, then that's your chance. So studying for the exam. Study all your exams, all old exams, and the sample questions that we did before them, and any new material. So for instance, presentations or something like that, make sure that you've been active in that portion of the course. So anything new since your last exam, it's all fair game. Okay? So if you have a question, for instance, over exam 1, question 3, and you would like to ask me about it, this Zoom meeting right here is where you'll have that opportunity to do that, okay? So that's when you're going to meet with me and say, hey, I just don't know about such and such, or even if you still have questions about the format for the exam and stuff like that. Okay, so which leads me to my next question. What will the exam look like? So basically, it looks very much like your exam 1 and your exam 2 and any new material. So this is all together to make one exam. So for instance, if your exam 1 was 25 questions and your exam 2 was 25 questions, and maybe you have a little bit of new material, I cannot give you a 2-hour final and ask you 50 questions. It's just not going to happen, right? So maybe this portion of the exam might be about 10 questions. And it might be a little more, a little less, depending on what kinds of questions. Everybody knows the formatting will be similar to what we've had before. Maybe there's some matching, maybe there's some true, false, or multiple choice. Well, multiple choice don't take as long as if we're doing a proof question or something like that, right? So I'm going to say about 10 questions, but really it depends on what kind of question, right? Like if there are 8 multiple choice questions, then you might still have 5 more questions, right? So don't hold me to that 10 questions. But ultimately, the length of the entire test for the final is going to be about the length of one of your normal exams. I usually write them so that students can finish in 1 hour if they, like you would in a normal class period. If you're on top of it and you really know your material, you would be okay to do that. And then, because it's a 2-hour final exam period, that gives you extra time to look it over and play with it if there's 1 or 2 questions, whatever, that you're having issues with. So I would say about the length of a normal exam, maybe a tiny bit longer, but not a ton longer. Okay, so that's what's happening there. So you can either take that exam with me face-to-face, or I believe I gave an option on your D2L quiz about the final exam for a Zoom with Dr. Webster. So if that is there, then I will honor that, and I'll figure out what time I told you I was going to do that. Or our Academic Testing Center is doing online test proctoring. Okay, so if you choose to do this with them, what will happen is I will send you a link to a Google sheet, or Google form actually. Okay, and you need to register for the time that you want to take the test. So basically, if you said, I don't know, I'm going to take my test Tuesday at 2 o'clock or something like that, when you look at that quiz about the final exam, then whenever you do that, you'll go into this Google form that I'll send you the link to, and you'll fill in all your information, and you'll give them an email address that you'll actually check. Be very, 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 very careful. I'm actually the one who sends these emails. This email address is the only way we have to contact you to say, hey, here's your link. Go to this site to take your test. Okay? If you don't give me a good email address, then we can't get you the link. So you'll fill it out, you'll give us your email address, you'll pick Webster because that's my name, and whatever course you are taking, figure that out, and then you'll choose a time. Okay. So you need to register for a particular time, because what I will do is I will go into D2L and I will assign your final exam based on the day and time that you picked. So you need to make sure that whatever time you pick is a time slot where you will have 2 hours uninterrupted, no significant others interrupting you, 2-hour blocks. Okay, no dogs coming in and out, no whatever your distraction is, okay? So make sure that you're going to have a 2-hour time block. And the way that the ATC is doing this is we're doing it on the even hours. So you can do, for instance, on Tuesday, you can do 10, noon, 2, and 4. We have late options on Thursday, so on Thursday you can do 10, noon, 2, 4, and 6. So that's kind of the way that's going to work. So pick a time and then stick with it. Make sure it's something that's really going to work for you, because we're not going to have a lot of do-over time for this. You need to make sure you can make that time. So choose that wisely. And double check your email address, make sure that it's right. Like I said, it's the only way we have to contact you. And you should get a confirmation email immediately that says, okay, your response has been seen for this Google form. And then later, the night before your exam, the time that you have chosen, you will get an email with a link to a Zoom meeting. Okay, and that email, again, right now they're coming from me, and so you would look out for an email from my email address, and it says, okay, you have signed up for a test at this time slot, and here's the link that you're going to use to get in. So that happens the day before. The reason for this is because we allow people to sign up for these Zoom meetings until the day before, within about 24 hours, and then I'll close a session, like if it was Tuesday, I would close all those sessions Monday evening, like say 6 o'clock or something, and then nobody else can sign up for a Tuesday session. They'd have to go to Wednesday and so on and so forth. So once I've closed those sessions, then I send out the email so that everybody has the Zoom link who's going to be in that session. So things to remember about this. If you do the Zoom, this is a group testing situation. That means anybody who is on this Zoom link, just like if we have a Zoom meeting in our normal class, anybody who's in that can see you and see your surroundings. So make sure that you are dressed appropriately and you don't have weird crazy stuff in the background that you don't want people to see, or anything that you're like, oh, that would embarrass me. So watch out and make sure that everything is appropriate for a school setting, okay? So make sure that you and your surroundings are presentable, let's put it that way. You will need a photo ID. Okay, this is because the proctors don't know who you are. Okay, they need to identify you as the person who has signed up for the test, and the photo ID gives the name and the face, and we see your face on the picture, on the camera, and then, you know, they can confirm it's you. Speaking of which, you need either a webcam or a video camera on a standalone device. What the heck does that mean? That means if you don't have a webcam or you don't have a laptop with a webcam built in, it's okay. You can use the camera in your iPad or your tablet or your phone. It needs to show your upper body and, if possible, your desk. They will actually check your desktop to make sure you have appropriate things on your desktop. So you need to be able to show the proctors your surroundings, and you will have to be on camera on this webcam in full display. You are on display the entire time. Okay? That means you need stable internet. Okay, you need a stable internet connection so that you can stay hooked up to this Zoom meeting the entire time, so that we can see you, so that we can make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that you have a check to make sure that nobody can accuse you of anything. And everything is recorded. So if any accusations were made, I can check and make sure everything's good. So there is a way for me to verify that the correct person took the test, and that everything was copacetic. So be aware that all of these things will be recorded. Okay. What else? If the meeting starts at 10 a.m., for instance, then you must check in within 15 minutes. Okay? Now that doesn't mean try to sign in at 10:15. Okay, at 10:15, the proctors will lock the session and nobody new will be able to log in. So don't do that. You need to be there at 10 or 10:05. That way they can go ahead and check your ID. They can go ahead and check your desktop and make sure you've got the appropriate materials on your desktop. It's not just you there, so they have to do this with everybody and make sure that everybody's checked in, up to about 8 or 10 people per session. So make sure that you are there with enough time in the first 15 minutes to appropriately get checked in. If you need to use the bathroom, if you need to print the test. So for instance, if your test was at 10 a.m., I would open your test on D2L at 10 a.m. So make sure you're logged into the D2L system, that you have whatever you're using for your duo factors so that you can verify that it's you and get into to D2L, into my Leo. Make sure that if you said 10 a.m., I will open the test at 10 a.m. This 15 minutes is where you will have time to print your exam. Okay, it's a paper and pencil test. There may be a D2L portion to it, but there will definitely be a paper and pencil test, and you need to be able to print your exam. So if you are doing this, then the first 15 minutes is the time for you to do that. It's the time for bathroom breaks. It's the time for getting ready for your exam. It's the time when, if you're using a calculator, they might ask you to clear your memory. So make sure that you're ready to do that. Don't have a calculator that you don't want to clear the memory, because they may ask you to do that. They're supposed to, so hopefully they do. I saw one where they didn't, so it's like, do that. Make sure you're checking memory on calculators. Okay, so if you don't have a printer, that was my other thought. If you don't have a printer, you will be okay. What'll happen is, and I'm going to say, try to use Chrome. If you can use Chrome, then it works better than, say, Internet Explorer for popping up other things. What happens is you will click on the exam. It'll say final exam. It'll be under quizzes. So you'll go under quizzes. It'll be final exam. And you'll click on that, and it'll pop up, and you'll do a little bit of stuff in D2L. There's an academic integrity statement that says you're not cheating and you're not going to share information with people who aren't taking the test and all that. So you'll have to agree to all of that, and please, please, please stick with that. Have integrity about this if you're doing this. And then there will be a portion that says click here, and it'll be the pen and paper test. If you don't have a printer or you don't have the ability to do that, it's okay, because what's going to happen is this is going to pop up in a different window, hopefully in Chrome, and then you're going to write your work neatly and in order on your own paper. Okay, so be careful about this, and there's directions in the final exam where it says, like if this is the matching section, then I need you to say number 1 is C, and number 2 is D, and number 3 is A, or whatever, okay, and you'll neatly and in order do, this is my matching section, okay, this is my true-false section. So you need to tell me what section you're in, and then tell me, this is number 1, this is my answer, true, and here's why, there's my reason, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you'll write that out very, very, very neatly on your own paper. If you have to skip a question, you'll either skip a huge section so that you can come back and write it, or you'll give it its own page and stick it in there and start a new page for the question after it. Because this is the easier you make it for me to grade, the better, the happier I will be. The harder you make it to grade, the more grumpy I become. So make sure that, you know, you're holding your integrity and you're very neat and orderly. Those two things are really important to Dr. Webster. So, yeah, so if you do it properly and make it nice and neat for me, then I'm more likely to give partial credit and stuff like that than if I'm getting grumpy because I can't find any of your answers or I can't find your work or whatever. So make sure that that is all nice and pretty. All right, when you are finished with your exam, you will need to show your test pages to the proctors. If you're not finished and there's somebody else in our class in there taking the final, please don't stare at the screen because that's rude. It's the same as cheating because you're looking at other people's answers. So please don't show people your other answers. Please don't do anything crazy with like send somebody your answers or whatever. That is not academic integrity. Okay, but when you're finished, you'll show your papers to the proctor, and then you'll upload all of your work. And your work will go into an assignment folder for the final exam. And you have to do this within about 10 minutes of logging out of the Zoom meeting. If you can do it while you're in the Zoom meeting, even better. However, some people are using the same device for their camera for their face as they would use to scan, and I understand that. So I can see when you're in the proctor session, when you're out of the proctor session. I can see when you open your D2L exam and when you close your D2L exam, and I can see when you upload your work into D2L. And all of that needs to happen within about 10 minutes. Like if you're off the proctor session and you're closing your test, your test should be closed when you're off your proctor session. And whenever you upload the thing in the assignment, you're working through the assignment, that should be within about 10 minutes. It doesn't take that long to go snap, 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 snap. Use your cam scanner or whatever app you're using, load it up as one batch, and load a single PDF file into this assignment folder. So it'll say final exam. I'm just out of space and I don't want to start a new paper. Okay, so that's the way that process works. No matter whether you're taking the final or not taking the final, grades are due the Monday after final exam week by 5 p.m. So I will have everything uploaded into D2L within a week of you taking the final for sure, but by that Monday. And all of your grades hopefully will be there. If you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me emails, whatever. And unless you're going to Zoom with me for your next class period to ask questions about content and material, or if you have something specific about your grade, then I guess this is it. I have really enjoyed having everyone in my class this semester. I hope the course has been informative and that you've learned a lot and that you feel like you got your money's worth out of at least my courses for the semester, because I know that it's been a long, stressful semester, and yeah, hopefully it was a good experience, even though it was a stressful experience, I'm sure, for some people. So take care and have a lovely break, and let me know if you need anything. Thanks.